Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out 2-sentence horror. Story 1. Pressing the X button on my controller was a bad idea when I heard beeping. Probably since I forgot to reconnect it from the nuclear launch to the iPad. Story 2. I decided to replace myself at home with an expensive identical-looking android to get away from my recently annoyingly clingy wife. During the big fight I started after realizing our shared bank account was almost empty, I couldn't help but notice her slightly off-limb movements. Story 3. The roar of the violent winter gale buffeting the city was drowned out by the sound of hooves slamming into our front door, and from my hiding place I prayed that the door would hold. The chilling sound of wood shattering was followed by hoof steps, then footsteps, before an enraged frigid voice bellowed out, "Where is she?" Story 4. I will never miss you again because I will never lose you again. As long as your corpse stays with me, I will have you forever. Story 5. Ever since I started using a stress ball I've been a lot more relaxed. Story 6. I received a text from my husband saying, "I can't wait to come home and surprise you." But I had just attended his funeral that morning. Story 7. I hate when my girlfriend turns on the lights at night when she gets scared. It's hard to find some place to hide before she sees me. Story 8. DEC23. The dog couldn't believe his luck, double the new toys hidden away in the bedroom for him. I still can't forget the way my sister screamed as she realized our dog got into her room while her guinea pigs were roaming. Story 9. We've never actually stepped foot on the moon. They don't allow visitors. Story 10. I eagerly look through the window after petting my dog goodbye and closing the door to see what he does when I leave. After a few seconds of staring at the door and being content that I left, his expression dropped and he proceeded to start walking up the stairs on two legs. Story 11. Me and my boyfriend are very into BDSM. As he took out a branding iron, I realized maybe BDSM wasn't the best for a burn victim with PTSD. Story 12. I was 13 when I noticed that all my dreams in my sleep happens in real life after exactly 1 year. As I wake up screaming I realized there's ain't much time left before Oppenheimer's fear comes to life. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 13. I met my wife the old-fashioned way. I snuck up behind her, knocked her out and took her to my home. Story 14. A man on the bus handed me a weird doll today. I took it to be nice but tossed it in the trash as I got home. As the garbage truck takes it away, I lay helpless as my bones and organs begin to compress. Story 15. I am a little bit confused about where to go now, said my roommate when I asked why he was just standing in front of our hostel. As I was in a rush, I passed him quickly, but I froze in my tracks when I saw my roommate hanging from the ceiling in our room. Story 16. Praise the God, for he is the one to bring salvation. Man repeated as he stabbed my girlfriend's corpse over and over again. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 17. Why did my submission get rejected? My husband promised me if I tapped out he'd loosen the belt. Story 18. It's a boy, I called with joy as I raised the baby for all to see. Before turning around and placing the babe in the hands of Moloch. Story 19. My mother told me people who commit suicide go to hell. Will that be her final thought about me even though Father is hanging me from the tree? Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 20. She woke up in a bathtub full of ice feeling a sharp pain in his abdomen. She reached for her phone, only to see a text message that read, "Thank you for your donation, we have transferred $10,000 to your account." Story 21. When we were robbed I decided to buy a gun to protect us. I never imagined my 3-year-old daughter would get a hold of it. Story 22. I'm getting a note everyone is watching you from random people in form of written notes, texts, signboards, etc. since a year now. I don't know why this is happening with me. Story 23. I woke up today and had trouble opening my eyes. I blinked and blinked and blinked, and yet the darkness remained all the same. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 24. I was mostly just surprised when I felt a sharp jab pierce my heel. Until I shut the shower off and could hear the giggles echoing up from the drain. Story 25. I always found it amusing that the old event center sign would display the precise time I would arrive at work just as I passed it on my commute. Today, as I drove past it, no time was displayed, and the roads are getting worse as this blizzard rages on. Story 26. I notice the toll the day bears on her festering inside the body, like parched flies in the summer heat, the odor pungent. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 27. The trash talk show host made the troubled teenager strip to her underwear to show what her future will look like in front of her father and the live audience. A few years later, people realized why she wore such thick clothing. Story 28. Her eyes were so mesmerizing that I couldn't stop looking at them. She put up a hell of a fight when I removed them though. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 29. Warm, fuzzy and fresh is what I felt attempting to stop the bleeding from my chest. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 30. The monsters came at me from all directions, overwhelming me and pinning me to the floor. As soon as they stabbed me with the sleeping dagger, I knew I would wake up again in the room with the padded walls. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 31. You traveled back in time to try and avert the tragedy that wiped 90% of the human race off the face of the earth. But after nearly 50 years of hard work, the tragedy still came, but this time the safeguards that spared the original remnants of humanity failed. Story 32. I was rushed to the nearest hospital in critical condition by my mom. I needed blood ASAP, I haven't been fed any in weeks. Story 33. On Valentine's Day I took my GF's breath away. By turning off her oxygen tank, she has cystic fibrosis. Story 34. I was warned we'd hear atomic bomb sounds from the Oppenheimer theater as we watched the Barbie movie. It was only slightly annoying until the skin on my friends' faces became red and swollen, with a few people vomiting in the audience. Story 35. I got home from school when my mom said your dad has a surprise for you in the garage. I walked in there expecting the puppy I've been asking for, but I only found his hanging corpse. Story 36. I was ecstatic when a popular vlogger found my missing boy in an abandoned house. But when they showed footage of them giving him back to his real family, I realized how he really vanished in the first place. Story 37. The campfire blazed in the distance as I shivered violently. For being so far away, it made me feel warm to my core as I lay down in the snow. Story 38. I sighed with relief as I cracked my knuckles. My face fell when the popping noise didn't stop. Story 39. After all these years I had come back to my home country. I soon regretted my decision when I have seen the people who were there. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 40. I felt a cool feeling on my left side when going under. That is before I realized I died in surgery. Story 41. DEC23. When my testicle doubled in size, the doctor told me I had cancer and it would have to be removed. That night I woke gasping in pain and looked down just as my testicle burst and a swarm of tiny spiders began spewing from my urethra. Story 42. I didn't expect much when I pushed the 3 men into the furnace as it was my usual job. But when I looked through the door, they were still alive, and there was a 4th. Story 43. My hands trembled slightly but I bated my breath to steady them before I resumed my work. My restrained victim screams behind a muffled gag and twitches violently as I carefully use the potato peeler to slowly slice off another thin layer from their pried-open eyeball. Story 44. I think I'm living with a murderer. He always comes home late, he sleeps in my bed without my permission and always stares at me in the window at the bathroom. Story 45. I always thought my breath sounded really loud. Little did I know it wasn't mine. Story 46. Our king, they say that they worship you yet their idols does not resemble you. It is not me that they are worshipping, the god replied, run now. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 47. I continued thrusting in and out of the bloody holes, letting the warm fluid hit my smiling face all while people stared at me with disgust and fear. The chief of police has fired me as the county coroner and had to watch them take my scalpel. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 48. On the day she ran away from her abusive home, my sister mailed a large trunk to my house. If I had gotten around to opening it sooner, maybe I would still have a sister. Story 49. The storm was more ferocious than ever, but I knew I was getting closer and closer to my destination. All I saw was a black abyss as I approached the edge of the known world. Story 50. My tear-streaked face was front and center at my daughter's funeral for all our family to see, a little life snuffed out before its time. They couldn't tell they were tears of happiness knowing the parasite I never wanted had finally done my job for me by jumping onto the covered pool and falling in. Story 51. I always looked forward to Christmas and this today was the day I would get Santa on camera. But I'm pretty sure Santa doesn't come in through the window wearing all black. Story 52. DEC23. My neighbor often woke screaming from PTSD nightmares, but tonight it was doubly loud. When I abruptly split her skull with a hammer, the other survivors wailed in horror, but I had warned her that I was not going to let my daughter be eaten by those things looking for us outside. Story 53. He put the contaminated needles into a brown sandwich bag. Then he placed the bag in the geocache and walked away. Story 54. The method of execution was now randomly chosen. I wish I knew what spaghettification meant. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.